Well, life experience and emotions are the tip of my thumb for any producer that is so desperate to sharpen his or her communication skills. Now, life experience is so rich in that in its raw material that is necessary to construct a message is embedded. The conflicts, the fears, disappointment, pleasures, courage, wonders, to mention about all a few. I need to ratify this that all these are constituents that are needed to write or create a message that is appealing. Now, this is a summary of the previous episode or 7 of this Hit Stuff podcast. Just in case you missed, kindly check this out and listen through for a detailed explanation and illustration. I'd like to take the opportunity to welcome you. It's great to have you again. This is episode 008 of the Hit Stuff podcast. I'm your host, Joski, aka Joseph Bogechinji. Who is your target audience is the question that we're dealing with here. And I'd like to say that for any producer, it's total wastage of time if you start creating without figuring out the intended person. The person you purpose to listen to your production. Take your time and think of the recipient of your message. It's really very important. I like to explain this in this way. My own mother passed on March 2022. May her soul rest in eternal peace. So people gather for a vigil at home. Relatives and friends spend the night mourning. And in our culture, every mourner must have something to eat. Normally there is a meal that is centrally prepared for all the mourners with no discrimination. Everyone, regardless of your status, your tribe, you come from village, you come from city, the treatment is all the same. They all eat the same meal. But this is not the same for all mourners. A significant set of friends and relatives to the deceased often prepare meals separately for their families and friends. Generally, they carry with them extra special stuff to treat their own as they come for the burial. In other words, they separate themselves from the central treatment when it comes to meals, but unite for other business. Now, matter of fact, the moment my children prepared a special meal for her relatives and friends of a family who had come to attend the burial, at mealtime, you can easily notice the status of people. So for the sake of this podcast, let's single out the act of the mother of my little ones. It's typical of any producer. Matter of fact, it's your obligation to cover up, shield a group of people just as relatives of the deceased due to their own special people during the vigil. You need to identify the right people that you intend to send your message to as a producer. Reference to the illustration above, I say, generally, all the mourners represent a whole special people that will need special service. Like it said, you can't please all people at all times, but you can please a few people at all times. So you need to be very particular. Select a few that you can attend to. For example, you can choose to pick teenagers. You can choose to pick university students, the 9 to 5 p.m. class of people. You can choose the home managers. The list is just too endless. Only you have the powers to determine who should listen to your creative work. And in this way, you have laid a foundation, and thereafter everything else will be built or constructed on this groundwork. That means all your work will be built on this groundwork that you've said. When I talk of groundwork, of course, knowing the target, who is the recipient of your message, that's the first thing that you have to do. It's the groundwork. In other words, that's what I'm trying to mean. So recognition of your target is going to simplify your work. And this is the bottom line of your creative. it's this image that has to stick in your head. And every time you start to create, take some time, reflect on this cluster of people first. It should be your priority. Friend, it's relevant to be conscious of the guy on the receiving end of your message. Matter of fact, the person listening to you. For every process and step of what you are constructing, try and recognize your target in your mind. Hold that person in your mind. Every sentence that you make, you must refer to that particular target of yours. Who is your target audience is the most notable before you begin to create. It's the ground that's going to support your work. Always ask yourself, who is the target of my creative content or production? Friends, just in case you need extra help about what I am sharing, just send me an email. More still, you can follow the Hit It Off podcast on WhatsApp channels for all the updates. And also, I love to hear your comments. I love to hear from you. The Hit It Up podcast is available on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Stroke Audible. You just need to just follow the Hit It Off podcast on WhatsApp channels to get all these links here. I must say I'm proud of you, and I can't not wait to have you for the next episode, which is not far away from now. But thank you for listening in.